welcome to the Matcha Diaries. I feel like it wouldn't make sense to start anywhere but my favorite matcha, my go-to matcha, my tried and true. My favorite matcha is a classic. It's just a brown sugar matcha. Super simple, 3 ingredients, it's a wrap. We're gonna need the brown sugar syrup. It's very easy, don't worry. You need the almond milk or whatever milk that you like. And then of course the matcha. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is make the syrup because we can't start anywhere else. Brown sugar syrup is very simple. A lot of people tend to think that it's very hard, but honestly it's just hot water and whatever you're making for the most part, unless you're getting a little bit crazy, and then it's gonna be something that you're gonna have to put on the stove. I don't have time for things like that. I want things to be easy. This is like a syrup I literally make weekly in my house. I don't really measure things. I'm not a measuring kind of gal. I more like to put things together and then we'll just see what happens. Pros and cons to that. Pros, it definitely gets done faster. Cons, I can never almost replicate to an exact T anything that I make. I'm just gonna take some hot water and then mix that in until it completely dissolves. So we're pouring that in there. And it's more or less kind of like equal parts. That's the way that I usually do it. And then I get like a little metal chopstick. You can use whatever, but I just do this and then I give it a stir, 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 stir until all of the brown sugar dissolves. Make sure you get all those nuggets out of there because that's not very helpful. That looks pretty dissolved to me. So we're gonna leave that like so, like that. And then you put a lid on it and then you put it in the fridge. Once it gets in the fridge, it then becomes more of like a thick consistency, which is what we're looking for, which will make it the syrup that you put into your matcha. So we're gonna put this in the fridge while we make our matcha. Okay, bonus, I'm gonna show you how to make simple syrup as well, because it's either gonna be brown sugar or simple syrup that I put into my matcha if I'm in like a rush, something quick and easy. And honestly, it's the same concept, just sugar, equal parts sugar and hot water. I already have some here because I literally have it all the time. The brown sugar one I was actually out of, mostly. But that should be good. Okay, and then we're gonna do the same exact thing, equal parts hot water, and then give it a stir until it dissolves. White sugar, for some reason, I find it does take a little bit longer to dissolve, so we're just gonna be continuing to do it until it dissolves. I honestly thought simple syrup used to be so much more confusing. I was like, oh, how do they make that? Like, oh, I guess I have to buy it. Until I figured out that it was so simple, like hot water and whatever you're trying to, you know, make. I will never buy a syrup ever again. I'm just gonna make it all the time. We're almost there. I got it on my shoulder. Honestly, this is enough for me. So there you go, your simple syrup. It is a little cloudy, but it's still gonna do its job. And then same process, we're gonna put a lid on her and tuck her in the fridge so you can get a little bit thick. My favorite part, the matcha. So what you need in order to make matcha is your whisk, your bamboo whisk, a little sifter, and then of course your little like kind of like a scoop. They have proper names for them. For this matcha, I'm gonna use emery. I actually recently just tried them and my initial taste was, I wasn't sure about it because it was a little bit more grassy, but it works. It works with the right sweetness. Again, I'm not a measurer, so I just take like 2 or 3 heaping like scoops and then I make that the case. That's what I have. That one's a little small, but I'm not making a tall cup today, so it's totally fine. And then we're gonna sift it in. Like a metal scoop, I feel like it's better, only because I just got this not too long ago. And my other one was pretty tarnished, and it was because I was always scraping a little bit too hard on the sifting process. So a little bit of the wood from our scooper was getting tarnished. So I tried to just use the side, or I use like a spoon. Use one of my creme brulee cups to warm up our whisk. It's important to warm up the whisk, which is just pouring hot water on it. Gives you a smoother finish when it comes to whisking, and it softens up the bristles. A lot of people usually use like a specific temperature of hot water. I do not, because that's a lot of work, and ultimately we are just trying to have a good matcha. And again, like I said, my recipes are not so far off, so it's not that crazy that I don't write anything down. It's more or less the same ratios. But anyways, so I have the matcha in there. I'm gonna take my prepped whisk and I'm gonna do a circle quickly, and then I'm gonna go into my W shapes. You don't want to be pressing down so hard. It's like literally so light that you're like touching the bottom, but not quite touching the bottom, if that makes sense. Like not consistently at least. And then you're looking for really nice micro bubbles. I usually whisk for about 30 seconds, maybe a minute, it just depends. I'm sure you've noticed that I'm switching hands. I switch hands because I read online that they said if you switch hands and you do whisking with your non-dominant hand, I'm ambidextrous, but like definitely better with this hand, but it correlates with better memory. So I try to mix it up. There is our beautiful matcha. And it has the right consistency, exactly what you're looking for. Ice is honestly up to you. Like sometimes I don't have any ice at all, and then sometimes I will just have it without any of the, like no milk, no anything. But today we're gonna have milk. So I'm gonna do a little bit of ice. And then we're gonna do almond milk. I used to have the Earth's Own, always swear by the Earth's Own oat milk. Ah! And then I found out it was actually bad for you. If you've heard of the Yuka app, do it at your own risk. Honestly, it's been driving me insane. We scanned everything and this was really, really good. The almond milk. Also, this is the unsweetened original and it has 0 synthetic pesticides. Truthfully, like I know what that means, but I don't know enough of what that means in order to explain it to you, but just know that it's good. The Yuka app said it's good, so it's good, okay? As I mentioned, the longer you leave it in the fridge, like it will have a thicker consistency. We just did it, so it's not gonna be super thick. So again, I don't really measure, but I usually do 2 or 3, depending on how big my matcha is. I tend to go for a little bit less of a sweet matcha. I actually enjoy the taste, and there are times where I'm into something super, super sweet, but it's usually not the case. My everyday matcha is not very, very sweet. Now for the pour. Everyone loves the pour. So I give it a little twirly twirl, and then we just pour her in. And the color is crazy. And you have to lick the bowl. If you don't lick the bowl, you're not a matcha girl. And then I'm gonna pour a little bit of hot water because we still have some left in there, and we don't waste over here. So I'm gonna give it a mix to make sure it gets everything off the walls of the bowl. And then I'm just gonna pour it in. Make sure we get all of the stuff there, and look at her, my go-to matcha. It's literally beautiful. Do you see the color gradient? Talk to me nice. This is kind of what I drink almost every single day, at least one. I have like maybe 1 or 2, sometimes 3 matchas a day. It's overkill, but now I'm trying to dial back because as I said, my matcha, my favorite matcha is sold out actually. Oh, I gotta wait till next year. But until then, I'll be messing with Emery, and I'm trying to try other matcha brands as well. A little friend here. Cheers. So good. And you see the froth on top? Talk to me nice. And there you go. That's my go-to matcha. See you later.